On the show this week, we've got PGA professional and Phil's sister, Tina Mickelson.
My dad introduced us to the game when we could walk. As soon as we could walk, we started playing. And I think we all realized that we had a love and a passion for the game.
In news, Max Keifer wins the Gujarat Kenswell Challenge and Robert Rock beats Tiger and McIlroy to get Abu Dhabi Golf Championship. Jesse Garwal will tell you about the difference between a pitch and a chip shot.
When we have a bad lie, we have to understand that we have to make a steep angle of approach. So we have two shots in golf. One's called a chip and one's called a pitch.
Tina Mickelson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your coming on the show. And thanks so much for getting out on your very own course. It's a beautiful day. What sort of gets you excited about golf every morning?
What I love about the game is it's different every time you come to the course. You never know how you're going to play. You could have good days, you can have bad days. You never actually master this game. And so it's something different every time you come out. I also enjoy the time that you're able to spend with those in your group. It's 4.5 hours of uninterrupted special bonding time, whereas if you were somewhere else, you have the distractions and you're not able to get into in-depth conversations like you would on the course.
And it's never such a long walk, or for that matter, just sort of a ride on the carts with all friends.
Yes.
Well, you know, golf in India is picking up in a big way, and probably many of those people would look up to people like you to get a sense of how does one begin, and more importantly, to realize that golf goes beyond just playing.
Right. First of all, to begin the game, it's important to understand it doesn't have to be so technical and so difficult. I like to simplify things. There are certain aspects in the golf swing that we call roots of the golf swing. And if you're in the right position in those roots, the rest of the swing kind of makes up for itself. So if you're fixing a root of the problem, the rest of the swing is fixed as well. So don't make it too technical and too complicated.
Just keep it easy and nice.
Exactly. And you have more fun that way too.
Yeah, that's so true. Because at most times, I think golf gets very intimidating because you want to master it on day one. And as many golfers would say that, you know, you could take 20 years and still not master the game. Do you think women have sort of come into the game in a big way in the United States, and maybe the rest of the world should now also pick up in that way?
Absolutely. Women are realizing that the game of golf offers so much more than just spending 4.5 hours on a golf course hitting a ball. Women connect with each other by sharing feelings and conversations and spending time together. And they're quickly realizing, I can spend time with my husband, with my kids, with my friends, who I never have time to see, but we share a common bond, a common interest, and that's the game of golf.
And keep learning it as well at all points. Well, you're somebody who's constantly teaching people how to fix their swing. Tell us a little bit about what is an ideal swing, and is there anything called an ideal swing in the first place?
An ideal swing is one that gets the club face square at impact consistently.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter technically where you are at the top of the swing, it does, but as long as you're getting that club face square at impact every time, that's a consistent and that's an ideal swing.
Okay, let's get a quick lesson then from you, considering that I've come, 24 hours away from India to San Diego to get a sense from Tina Mickelson, the lady who's very much the master of the game.
What are some of the challenges that you find in your swing? And what I mean by that is, do you hit it fat, behind the ball, thin, up on the ball?
Yeah.
And if I'm set up here and you asked me to turn and give you the head of the club, what would I do? I would turn that. I would just turn and just do that exactly. Now all I have to do is fold up to the top. So I'm going to have you do that drill just a couple times. There you go! See how easy that is?
That works.
It does.
Brilliantly. Yeah, it does.
Good job. Less is more.
I think that's a good one to keep in mind. Less is more. And when you go out there to teach people, do you often find that women tend to get more intimidated by the game?
At first, they do, because they don't want to hold anyone up. They care about what other people think about them. They don't want to hold anyone up or to interrupt their game. And so they're very conscientious of how they're affecting those around them, which is a beautiful quality to have. You just don't enjoy yourself as much because you're so worried.
Again, you're thinking about everything else but the game or the ball.
Exactly. So you need to just remember, no one cares about your game. They're too worried about their own.
How do you select your clubs? And sort of, that is something that most people, even as they begin, want to pay some attention to, right?
Right.
How do you go for the equipment?
Callaway builds their women's sets for women, with women in mind. It's not just a lighter version of the men's set. So I feel like I have clubs that are perfect for me because I'm able to test different sets. Now, if you don't have that luxury, then I would recommend not buying just any club off the shelf. You can go to your local golf course and ask your golf professional to test your swing or get fitted for your swing. So you can get the correct specs, your loft, your lie, all of that. And then you can go to wherever it is you buy your clubs and give them your specs, make sure the club fits that. But again, golf is such a feel game that it needs to feel good in your hands.
Well, we're at one of the most scenic holes at the Santa Luz Golf Course with probably the best lady in this part of America telling us a little bit about golf and how it's really a game in the mind. You've tried to convince people to get away from the fear factor. But share with us a little bit about what do you tell CEOs? You know, they're very particular about winning. They really want to get it right. And it's not necessary that they would take it easy, even though you might want to try and convince them.
Right. What I love about the game of golf and CEOs enjoying the game together is you have a common interest. So it's not about competitiveness with each other, although that still exists. It's more about you spending time together out on the golf course and getting to know each other on a different level than just business. And so if you get a better understanding of each other, which in turn helps you in business.
Okay, interesting. You know, there's also a part of the game which has a lot to do with some sort of a spirituality. You know, it's very much alive when you play. And you partly edited a book, or you edited a book that Deepak Chopra really conceptualized. What did you try and bring about in that book? It's about successful people, but it has a lot to do with the fact that there is golf, there's the mind, and there is a soul, something that we don't even most of the time think about.
Right. And what I loved the most about that book and what I learned from editing that book is the less you try, or the more you let go, and the less detached to the outcome you are, the more you enjoy the process and the better the outcome is. So the minute you don't worry about what happens, you enjoy the journey, the outcome becomes a lot more desirable.
What did you find most exciting about doing that book, particularly with Deepak Chopra? Again, a person who's not just popular here, he's extremely popular back home as well.
I loved the centeredness that I felt when I read the lessons in the book, and the lessons were life lessons and golf lessons. Yeah. And so in learning to play the game of golf, you're learning to play the game of life and vice versa. And in our relationship, I appreciated that because he taught me so much about the game of life, and I felt like I was able to in exchange, teach him about the game of golf. And it was a mutually beneficial relationship.
That's why, well, the best teachers in the world are also those who believe that you have to learn every day from everything. Time to just get ahead on the course then.
My dad introduced us to the game when we could walk. As soon as we could walk, we started playing. And I think we all realized that we had a love and a passion for the game, and we wanted to implement that into everything we did.